April to May, you got regional focus and run through of the regional workouts, and then June through July, you have the CrossFit Games and the focus on that preparation. So let's go ahead. You have all this background knowledge now. You got a general, very general macro cycle for an elite CrossFit athlete, and the quote-unquote season. So pardon me, take a quick snap photo. Boom. So I will also post this as well. You guys will have a picture of it. So let's move on. Erase all this nonsense. I'm going to talk about the 5 times a week training. Why on earth do these guys train 5 times a week? Excuse me, 5 times a day, more than once a week? Now, remember, I said that this is not going to be very long, but the macro cycle it falls under is going to be in the open preparation. Okay, this is where they're really going to start getting their stuff up. Now, let me preface. They do not start, once they're done with their strength, speed, and power cycle and technical focus, they're not going to just jump right into, okay, I need to do this workout from 8 to 9:30, eat some food. This workout from 10 to noon, eat some food. This workout from 2 to 4, eat some food. 6 to 8, eat some food. 10 to 11 p.m. No, that's not how it works. They gradually build into it. So they're looking at probably doing, if they were following a 4-week workout 5 times a day for 3 days a week, they wouldn't start that probably to about mid-December. So mid-December to mid-January is going to be that 4 weeks of volume. We'll call it volume. Okay? So first thing I'm going to write up, it's the demand of the sport. As I typed up in one of them, one of my responses to Mike Gordon and also Russell, the demand of the sport is very high. So at the games, you're going to have multiple competitive workouts a day. You know, I said 4 times, a minimum of 4 for regionals and a minimum of 3 at the CrossFit Games level. That's why they do this, okay? It's the demand. The demand of the sport requires them to be able to work out multiple times in one day at pretty high capacity. Now, high capacity probably generally meaning no higher than 80%, but they're not going to train at 80% 5 times in a single day. I'll explain that a little more. So, just covered that. Sometimes it's for a psychological boost. Okay, now, why would I say that? These guys, these elite level CrossFit athletes, they're essentially addicted to fitness. They work out because it's like crack to them. They really enjoy getting that feel of, oh, that was a great workout, or I just need to keep moving. I can't sit still. But there are significantly different levels. Let me talk about that. Different levels throughout the day. So these different levels, I'm going to give you a quick run through on what I'm trying to type out for you guys to understand. 5 times a day, nuts. If we think about your stereotypical CrossFit workout, okay, what we see on social media, YouTube, what ESPN promotes, what Dave Castro promotes, that's not what they're doing every single day, okay? Let's say they're following a Monday, Wednesday, Friday structure with their 5 times a week. Monday they do hit 5, Tuesday they hit 2, Wednesday they hit 5, Thursday they hit 1, Friday they hit 5, Saturday they hit 3, Sunday they hit 1, okay? On that Monday workout, they will wake up in the morning, obviously eat the breakfast, and they'll probably do an EN0 to EN1 type of technical work or a cyclical work, meaning long steady distance cycling, rowing, maybe go on a short little jog for about 45 minutes, but nothing that's going to do significant damage to their body. Now, that's one example. That's one option they may choose. The other option may be the extreme We want to think super high intensity, so we're going to think maybe a weightlifting focus or a powerlifting focus. Okay, now, I'm not using the societal definition of intensity where we come in and we're breathing really hard for 20 minutes and holy crap, we're going to die. No, that's not intensity. It's difficult. What I mean is straight up intensity, pure power. Okay? Work over time. So those are those options. Let's just say they come into the EN0 cyclical work. Their next session, maybe 2 hours later, hour and a half later, that'll be a little bit of a burner. A burner meaning maybe some VO2 max work, lactic endurance. Maybe they'll do some speed strength or some strength speed. Somewhere in that vicinity. That'll be their next workout. Their third workout, about an hour and a half, 2 hours later after they eat, would probably just consist of something as simple as maybe yoga. Or maybe that would be their weightlifting session or their powerlifting session. It's not going to be, if they chose the EN0 and they did the VO2 max work second, their next bet is going to be their fourth session is going to be an example of low intensity yoga or something that's just going to be a focus on technique or, well, no, there's no or, that's about it. I apologize. The last session, that's going to be a longer, more grueling grind through. Okay, so an example would be, there's a workout called Cindy that we do. It's a benchmark. Benchmark meaning we track it. We track our improvement through that workout. It's a 20-minute, as many rounds as you can do. One round consists of 5 pull-ups. Obviously, you may use kipping, butterfly, strict, 10 push-ups, strict push-ups, and 15 squats. You just cycle through those 3 movements for 20 minutes. That would be kind of a grinder, okay? Focusing on pacing, but also not being afraid to kind of tap into that next level. I hope that makes sense. Feel free to ask any questions on that. Okay. Now, the coach, the demand of the coach is very, very high during this 5 times a day training. Why? As I mentioned, the athlete is very much, they're in tune with their body, but they're addicted to fitness. Okay? They should know their limitations, but what if you have a novice athlete who has qualified for regionals, didn't quite make it to the games, therefore they're stepping up their training next year, but they're a young bull. They want to just put their nose to the ground and go. Or excuse me, a young hound. They put their nose on the ground and go. This is where the coach says, hey, whoa, back off, buddy. Listen to what I'm saying. Here's what we're going to do. I'm recognizing that your body is not adapting well to this. Therefore, the coach steps in, and the coach has to be knowledgeable enough to where they can be, hey, stop, and be perfectly okay with it. So from that standpoint, the 5 times a day training, the coach has to be on point. My opinion, the coach needs to be more on point than the athlete does. I hope that makes sense. I think all that does to you, you're all pretty good coaches. So let me hit on the next portion for this 5 times a day. That's the recovery between sessions. So Mike Gordon raised a question on the recovery. Now, recovery is absolutely essential to CrossFit, absolutely essential to fitness. No arguments there. You do not adapt appropriately and you cannot grow if you don't recover properly, if you don't rest. Your body adapts through rest. A great quote that was said to me when I was in college. Here are some things that they use. Food. Food is huge. Generally, these guys have a sponsorship of some type of fuel distributor. Food distributor. Where I'm at, we have Rosie Joe's Meal Service. Other people may be sponsored by Mod Paleo on the East Coast. And there's a whole bunch of those ones that deliver food. These guys get essentially free food. They don't have to pay very much for it, if anything. Those who won the games, Katrin Davis-Daughter, Matt Frazier, Rich Froning, they get free food essentially all the time just because that's what CrossFit's all about, or not all about, but there's a big kick right now in CrossFit about nutrition. Has been going on for about 2 years. So that's the first step, is food. They're always making sure they're eating. They're always ingesting something while they're working out. They're never just drinking water. There's something added to their beverage. Amino acids, maybe a little bit of glutamine or basically any other essential or branched chain amino acid. That's going to be the primary source that they're going to be consuming. And maybe they'll have some MCT oil thrown in there as well, a little bit of fat, and maybe a handful of sugar for some carbohydrates. It depends on the athlete and how their body adapts to that kind of stuff. The second one is going to be sleep. Now, sleep is obviously important. We all know how important it is. These guys get about 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night, even when they're following that insane training regimen. As I mentioned before in one of my posts, Katrin Davis-Sauter, female individual CrossFit Games champion 2 years in a row. She starts her workouts between 8 and 8:30 a.m. and ends at almost 5 p.m. It's like a straight up work week, and she's working out and eating. Okay? Now, the next portion for the recovery is going to be mobility and stim. So, I don't know if many of you are familiar with a Mark Pro, but it's this little thing with patches, electro patches you can put. Mike and Ken, you guys are probably pretty familiar with it. Eric, you probably use it on your basketball players as well. But the stim really helps with recovery. There's a bunch of different settings. There's recovery, there's warm-up, there's about 3 or 4 others. I've never used them just because it's never been a necessity for me. I know of them, and I know that they are used frequently. You guys, Mike and Ken, you guys should probably explain it a little better than I could. Again, not something I'm fully familiar with. The last thing on here is breathing. There are a ton of breathing exercises that are used in CrossFit. Why? Because oxygen is our friend, right? Body needs it. So, a lot of things they'll do is called Wim Hof breathing. W-I-M space H-O-F. It's something that I do, and man, does it help a lot. I really, really appreciate the Wim Hof breathing for position-specific parasympathetic breathing because it helps expand your diaphragm. It's a lot like, I can't remember what it's called, but I believe it's in a type of Brazilian martial arts. It's not important, but they do a lot of exercising of their diaphragm, which is essentially the same thing here. Being able to catch your breath and being able to breathe is quintessential to CrossFit performance, and these guys will practice it. They'll practice it sometimes for about an hour. One of their 5 times a day sessions might be working on the breathing, and they count that as a training session because it's training their breath. Cool, hope that makes sense. So, moving on. That's kind of all I'm going to hit on the 5 times a day training. If you guys have any more questions on that, please let me know. Feel free to email me or shoot me a message on the Canvas. I hope that makes sense. I don't want it to confuse anyone, and I'm sure there are probably still a lot of questions. And hang tight.